Start, A Gloomy Winter Morning, a short story by Anton Chekhov. On the smooth and glittering surface of the river Bystrianka, sprinkled here and there with snow, stand two peasants, scrubby little Seryozhka and the church beadle, Matvey. Seryozhka, a short-legged, ragged, mangy-looking fellow of 30, stares angrily at the ice. Tufts of wool hang from his shaggy sheepskin like a mangy dog. In his hands he holds a compass made of two pointed sticks. Matvey, a fine-looking old man in a new sheepskin and high felt boots, looks with mild blue eyes upwards, where on the high sloping bank a village nestles picturesquely. In his hands there is a heavy crowbar. "Well, are we going to stand like this till evening with our arms folded?" says Seryozhka, breaking the silence and turning his angry eyes on Matvey. "Have you come here to stand about, old fool, or to work?" "Well, show me," Matvey mutters, blinking mildly. "Show you. It's always me. Me to show you, and me to do it. They have no sense of their own. Mark it out with the compasses, that's what's wanted. You can't break the ice without marking it out. Mark it. Take the compass." Matvey takes the compasses from Seryozhka's hands, and shuffling heavily on the same spot and jerking with his elbows in all directions, he begins awkwardly trying to describe a circle on the ice. Seryozhka screws up his eyes contemptuously and obviously enjoys his awkwardness and incompetence. He mutters angrily. "Even that you can't do. The fact is, you are a stupid peasant, a wooden-head. You ought to be grazing geese and not making a Jordan. Give the compasses here. Give them here, I say." Seryozhka snatches the compasses out of the hands of the perspiring Matvey, and in an instant, jauntily twirling round on one heel, he describes a circle on the ice. The outline of the new Jordan is ready now. All that is left to do is to break the ice. But before proceeding to the work, Seryozhka spends a long time in airs and graces, whims and reproaches. "I am not obliged to work for you. You are employed in the church, you do it." He obviously enjoys the peculiar position in which he has been placed by the fate that has bestowed on him the rare talent of surprising the whole parish once a year by his art. Poor mild Matvey has to listen to many venomous and contemptuous words from him. Seryozhka sets to work with vexation, with anger. He is lazy. He has hardly described the circle when he is already itching to go up to the village to drink tea, lounge about, and babble. "I'll be back directly," he says, lighting his cigarette. "And meanwhile you had better bring something to sit on and sweep up instead of standing there counting the crows." Matvey is left alone. The air is grey and harsh, but still. The white church peeps out genially from behind the huts scattered on the riverbank. Jackdaws are incessantly circling round its golden crosses. On one side of the village, where the riverbank breaks off and is steep, a hobbled horse is standing at the very edge, motionless as a stone, probably asleep or deep in thought. Matvey, too, stands motionless as a statue, waiting patiently. The dreamily brooding look of the river, the circling of the jackdaws, and the sight of the horse make him drowsy. 1 hour passes, a second, and still Seryozhka does not come. The river has long been swept and a box brought to sit on, but the drunken fellow does not appear. Matvey waits and merely yawns. The feeling of boredom is one of which he knows nothing. If he were told to stand on the river for a day, a month, or a year, he would stand there. At last, Seryozhka comes into sight from behind the huts. He walks with a lurching gait, scarcely moving. He is too lazy to go the long way round, and he comes not by the road, but prefers a shortcut in a straight line down the bank, and sticks in the snow, hangs on to the bushes, slides on his back as he comes. And all this slowly, with pauses. "What are you about?" he cries, falling on Matvey at once. "Why are you standing there doing nothing? When are you going to break the ice?" Matvey crosses himself, takes the crowbar in both hands and begins breaking the ice, carefully keeping to the circle that has been drawn. Seryozhka sits down on the box and watches the heavy, clumsy movements of his assistant. "Easy at the edges. Easy there," he commands. "If you can't do it properly, you shouldn't undertake it. Once you have undertaken it, you should do it. You." A crowd collects on the top of the bank. At the sight of the spectators, Seryozhka becomes even more excited. I declare I am not going to do it, he says, lighting a stinking cigarette and spitting on the ground. I should like to see how you get on without me. Last year at Kostyukovo, Stjopka Gulkov undertook to make a Jordan as I do. And what did it amount to? It was a laughingstock. The Kostyukovo folks came to ours, crowds and crowds of them. The people flocked from all the villages. Because except for ours, there is nowhere a proper Jordan. Work. There is no time for talking. Yes, old man. You won't find another Jordan like it in the whole province. The soldiers say you would look in vain. They are not so good even in the towns. Easy, easy. Matvey puffs and groans. The work is not easy. The ice is firm and thick, and he has to break it and at once take the pieces away that the open space may not be blocked up. But, hard as the work is, and senseless as Seryoshka's commands are, by 3 o'clock there is a large circle of dark water in the Bistryanka. It was better last year, says Seryoshka angrily. You can't do even that. Ah, dummy. To keep such fools in the temple of God. Go and bring a board to make the pegs. Bring the ring, you crow. And get some bread somewhere. And some cucumbers or something. Matvey goes off and soon afterwards comes back, carrying on his shoulders an immense wooden ring, which had been painted in previous years in patterns of various colours. In the centre of the ring is a red cross, at the circumference holes for the pegs. Seryoshka takes the ring and covers the hole in the ice with it. Just right. It fits. We have only to renew the paint and it will be first rate. Come. Why are you standing still? Make the lectern, or ergo, and get logs to make the cross. Matvey, who has not tasted food or drink all day, trudges up the hill again. Lazy as Seryoshka is, he makes the pegs with his own hands. He knows that those pegs have a miraculous power. Whoever gets hold of a peg after the blessing of the water will be lucky for the whole year. Such work is really worth doing. But the real work begins the following day. Then Seryoshka displays himself before the ignorant Matvey in all the greatness of his talent. There is no end to his babble, his fault-finding, his whims and fancies. If Matvey nails 2 big pieces of wood to make a cross, he is dissatisfied and tells him to do it again. If Matvey stands still, Seryoshka asks him angrily why he does not go. If he moves, Seryoshka shouts to him not to go away, but to do his work. He is not satisfied with his tools, with the weather, or with his own talent. Nothing pleases him. Matvey saws out a great piece of ice for a lectern. "Why have you broken off the corner?" cries Seryoshka, and glares at him furiously. "Why have you broken off the corner? I ask you." "Forgive me for Christ's sake." "Do it over again." Matvey saws again. And there is no end to his sufferings. A lectern is to stand by the hole in the ice that is covered by the painted ring. On the lectern is to be carved the cross and the open gospel. But that is not all. Behind the lectern there is to be a high cross to be seen by all the crowd, and to glitter in the sun as though sprinkled with diamonds and rubies. On the cross is to be a dove carved out of ice. The path from the church to the Jordan is to be strewn with branches of fir and juniper. All this is their task. First of all, Seryoshka sets to work on the lectern. He works with a file, a chisel, and an awl. He is perfectly successful in the cross, on the lectern, the gospel, and the drapery that hangs down from the lectern. Then he begins on the dove. While he is trying to carve an expression of meekness and humility on the face of the dove, Matvey, lumbering about like a bear, is coating with ice the cross he has made of wood. He takes the cross and dips it in the hole. Waiting till the water has frozen on the cross, he dips it in a second time, and so on till the cross is covered with a thick layer of ice. It is a difficult job, calling for a great deal of strength and patience, but now the delicate work is finished. Seryoshka races about the village like one possessed. He swears and vows he will go at once to the river and smash all his work. He is looking for suitable paints. His pockets are full of ochre, dark blue, red lead, and verdigris. Without paying a farthing, he rushes headlong from one shop to another. The shop is next door to the tavern. Here he has a drink. With a wave of his hand he darts off without paying. At one hut he gets beetroot leaves, at another an onion skin. out of which he makes a yellow color. He swears, shoves, threatens, and not a soul murmurs. They all smile at him. They sympathize with him, call him Sergei Nikitich. They all feel that his art is not his personal affair, but something that concerns them all, the whole people. One creates, the others help him. Seryozhka in himself is a non-entity, a sluggard, a drunkard, and a wastrel. But when he has his red lead or compasses in his hand, he is at once something higher, a servant of God. Epiphany morning comes. The precincts of the church and both banks of the river for a long distance are swarming with people. Everything that makes up the Jordan is scrupulously concealed under new mats. Seryozhka is meekly moving about near the mats, trying to control his emotion. He sees thousands of people. There are many here from other parishes. These people have come many a mile on foot through the frost and the snow merely to see his celebrated Jordan. Matvey, who had finished his coarse, rough work, is by now back in the church. There is no sight, no sound of him. He is already forgotten. The weather is lovely. There is not a cloud in the sky. The sunshine is dazzling. The church bells ring out on the hill. Thousands of heads are bared. Thousands of hands are moving. There are thousands of signs of the cross. And Seryozhka does not know what to do with himself for impatience. But now they are ringing the bells for the sacrament. Then, half an hour later, a certain agitation is perceptible in the belfry and among the people. Banners are borne out of the church one after the other, while the bells peal in joyous haste. Seryozhka, trembling, pulls away the mat, and the people behold something extraordinary. The lectern, the wooden ring, the pegs, and the cross in the ice are iridescent with thousands of colors. The cross and the dove glitter so dazzlingly that it hurts the eyes to look at them. Merciful God, how fine it is! A murmur of wonder and delight runs through the crowd. The bells peal more loudly still, the day grows brighter. The banners oscillate and move over the crowd as over the waves. The procession, glittering with the settings of the icons and the vestments of the clergy, comes slowly down the road and turns towards the Jordan. Hands are waved to the belfry for the ringing to cease, and the blessing of the water begins. The priests conduct the service slowly, deliberately, evidently trying to prolong the ceremony, and the joy of praying all gathered together. There is perfect stillness. But now they plunge the cross in, and the air echoes with an extraordinary din. Guns are fired, the bells peal furiously, loud exclamations of delight, shouts, and a rush to get the pegs. Seryozhka listens to this uproar, sees thousands of eyes fixed upon him, and the lazy fellow's soul is filled with a sense of glory and triumph.